There was a musician who devoted his life to creating a new language, and this language was called Sol Sol. He wanted to create a language system so that anyone in the world could have a conversation as long as they knew do re mi fa sol la si do. But unfortunately, this language was not widely used because, obviously, it's difficult to express all the human thoughts with just 7 sounds. Nevertheless, there was only one reason why he worked so hard to create this language until the moment of his death. He wanted all mankind to communicate like they were singing. His challenge failed, but we can still communicate. I mean, just because you pour out a lot of words and give detailed explanations, it cannot be said that you communicate well. Our feelings can be conveyed and communicated through a variety of methods, such as through eye contact and hand gestures, etc. So let's start Radio Clock, hoping to be able to freely communicate with you this week. We'll kick off today's hour on Radio Clock with 조원선's Do Re Mi Fa Sol La Si Do. Come on in, besties. Welcome back to Bestie Time, besties, and happy Monday. It is May 13th, 2024, and I hope you guys all had a splendid weekend and are ready for a new week ahead. Also, happy Mother's Day to those who celebrate. It was Mother's Day yesterday, so if you're a mother listening, sending you love and just want to say you're doing great and I'm proud of you. Going back to the opening, can you imagine if we were to all converse using only do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do? We'd be like, mi, do, re, mi, sol, fa, mi, re, and then we'd be like, si, si, do, mi, do, mi, re, fa, sol, la, la, si. No, I can't. I mean, nice try. It would be nice, but you'd also need to know how to sing and need to know the notes. So I can't imagine what that would be like. Also, besties, make sure to send any song requests you have for me to the send message board of our website, or you can also email us at a.radioclock.2022@gmail.com. I know you guys have a little more work to do now because we have bestie time and we also have Would You playlist with us on the weekends that need your participation, but if you loved me, you would send messages, okay? Thank you. All right. Our message today is from... Okay. It's from Ashmai. Hello, Ashley. I'm Jiwon. Oh, hi, Jiwon. I always stop what I'm doing at 3 o'clock and listen to the radio. Radio clock has become a routine. You're doing well, and I hope you'll always cheer up. I hope we can see each other for a long time without getting sick. Originally, I was gonna request Here We Are, but I think you'll be embarrassed if I request this song. Honestly, I haven't been able to tell you, but these days, at some point, I've become more inclined to lean on you without realizing it. But because of my personality, I can't tell you these feelings. So I'll request a song, 이지영's 기대도 돼요. You can lean on me. Always fighting. Thank you, Jiwon. Yeah, just like the title, you can lean on me and our besties as well. We're going to listen to the song and we're going to meet our guest for Tea Time Monday, who I'm very excited to meet. I feel like I'll learn a lot today because we have an interpreter coming in for Tea Time Monday. So we'll meet with her in a little bit. But first, please enjoy the song, 이지영 from Big Mama's 기대도 돼요. You can lean on me.
밤새 비가 지독히 내린다. 이 밤을 지운 채 빗속을 떠도는 누군가의 슬픔이 깊은지 깊은 밤 내 노래가 위로가 된다면 노래할게. 이 밤이 다 지나도록 널 위해 내게 기대도 돼요. 작은 내 어깨 너의 둥지가 돼줄 테니 흠뻑 젖은 네 슬픔들 훑은 채로 그냥 편히 내게 기대요. 나나나나나 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 my friend. 깊은 밤을 삼킬 듯 쏟아지는 빗소리가 슬프다 참 미친 듯이 흐르고 또 흐르는 네 눈물 하며 노래할게 이 밤이 다 지나도록 널 위해 내게 기대도 돼요 작은 내 어깨 너의 둥지가 돼줄 테니 흠뻑 젖은 네 슬픔들 훑은 채로 그냥 편히 내게 기대요 나나나나나 나나나나나 나나나나나나 나나나나나 My friend 쏟아지는 이 비가 그칠 때쯤에 그대의 슬픔도 끝날 거야 그때까지만 편히 쉬어요 내가 그 대신 더 돼줄게 나나나나나 나나나나나 나나나나나나 나나나나나 나나나나나나 My friend
Radio Clock airs both on TV and radio at 3 p.m. KST every day. To listen to our show, download the ARIRANG Radio application from the App Store. If you're in the Jeju area, tune in to 88.7 in Jeju City, 88.1 in Seogwipo City, 101.9 in the Daejeong area. Or you can join our YouTube live stream on ARIRANG Radio K-pop channel. Missed out on our live show? Don't worry, you can watch or listen to the rerun on TV and radio. Rewatch the fun moments on TV at 2 a.m. KST from Tuesdays to Saturdays and at 3 p.m. KST on Saturdays and Sundays. You can also enjoy the radio rerun at 6 a.m. KST every day. Don't forget, there are also exclusive episodes at 3 p.m. on Saturdays and Sundays only on radio. Would you like a cup of tea? This is Tea Time Monday. This is Tea Time Monday, where we invite guests from all different areas and fields, and we get to know them a little better. And today we talked about communicating in the opening, and we have the perfect guest for that. We have an interpreter named Cho Joo-yeon in the studio joining us. Welcome. Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
Thank you so much for having me. You have a little, really cool and cute little studio here.
Thank you. I'm glad you like it.
I do.
Can you look at the camera and introduce yourself to all of our
Sure.
listeners?
Hi, everyone. My name is Joo-yeon, or you can call me Mari, and I have been working as a conference interpreter for the past 12 plus years.
Wow.
It's an honor to be here today, and I'm looking forward to the discussions we'll have.
Woo! I feel so chill and lighthearted today because I don't, she's gonna express herself and communicate with you guys way better than I can. So I'm just like, okay, take it away. I haven't felt like this in so long. And so thank you for joining us. I know you're very busy, but you still made time for us. So thank you.
No, thank you for having me.
And we're going to begin with Tea Time Monday. So first, can you tell us which tea you chose?
Yes, I chose, the name is horse bean tea.
Horse bean.
Yes, it's
Huh.
작두 콩차 in Korean, but I chose it because I'm into like beans and nuts and everything, a lot of vegetable protein. But I hadn't tried this type of tea before, and I wanted to taste it.
Do you like it?
I do. It's really savory and nice.
Oh, nice.
Yes.
I'm glad. Okay, I chose 우엉차 burdock tea, and it's delicious. And you introduced yourself before as a conference interpreter.
That's right.
Well, can you tell us what the difference between just a regular interpreter and a conference interpreter is?
So a conference interpreter is a specific term that you give to interpreters who have gone to graduate school for their training. And it's like in conferences, international conferences like the UN meetings, the UN General Assembly, or the Olympics, or like FIFA. You see interpreters in these small little booths doing either simultaneous interpretation or consecutive interpretation. So interpretation can come in multiple different forms. You know, like if you, like you, Ashley, too. I know that you interpret for your guests when they only speak in Korean, but you can call all of that interpretation. However, it's just a form of high level of interpretation that you can only achieve by getting the right credentials and the right certificates.
Wow.
Long story.
Impressive. Wait, so what did you major in college and in graduate school?
So in university, I was actually a business administration major, and I focused on marketing. And so after graduating university, I thought that I would be, an international marketer. So I actually worked for multiple different companies, and the longest company that I stayed with was called TBWA, which was an advertisement company.
Oh.
And they had like a lot of international clients because it's an international agency. And then afterwards, long story short, I thought that, why not learn about interpretation as a professional? So I went to graduate school. It's a 2-year graduate school program. And during graduate school, it was very focused on high levels of interpreting that can be actually used for international conferences.
Oh, wow. So you learned to interpret from like English to Korean or
Yes.
Korean to English?
That's right. We call it your A language and B language. So if you have your mother tongue, it will be called your A language. And then if you have your secondary language that you acquired after you were born, then you call it your B language. Some have C language, D language, and the list goes on.
So you said you've been working as a conference interpreter for like 14 years?
Yes, exactly. So after graduate school, so officially after that, it's my 12th year. However, before when I went to different companies, I was always coined as the girl that was like, oh, remember that girl that lived overseas for a long time? The girl that speaks good English? Bring her over and give her some interpreting to do. So a lot of the companies that I worked with were actually global companies, but nevertheless, they always told me to interpret for something or do some translation work. And so that's why I thought, if I'm going to do this, well, let's do it professionally.
Oh, wow. So after I guess then for normally after you graduate and you're looking for jobs, are there a lot of interpretation and like translating professions?
Yes, so it can be actually divided into two because you can either work freelance like myself and get work from here and there, various different clients, or you can work for a specific company and become an interpreter, an in-house interpreter at that company. So one of the biggest delivery and small products company in Korea actually has a huge interpretation team. So they hire interpreters round the clock.
And like that's for a lot of different languages, right?
Yes, but mainly in
Mainly
English.
English.
Yeah.
Oh, do you speak other languages as well?
I do, not professionally, but I have lived in Europe for a long time of my life. So I do speak French and German.
Wow.
German, I can get by. So I can order food and I can live in Germany without, getting myself in trouble, but not for conference interpreting, no.
Wait, so how many years did you spend in each of these countries?
Yeah, so I lived in Belgium for about 8 years. So a little little less than 8 years. And then I moved over to Germany, and that was around 3 years. And then after coming back for high school, I lived in Korea for 3 years, and then went over to the United States to North Carolina for my undergrad studies.
Oh, so you lived in Belgium as a child?
Yes. So I started off in Belgium even before elementary school. So when I was in kindergarten, my parents and I moved over.
Oh my gosh, you must have had so much good Belgian chocolate.
Oh, definitely.
The first thing I thought of.
I actually went to one of the factories of Belgian, like a very famous Belgian chocolate manufacturer, and I was able to actually make my own pralines.
So jealous.
I know. Chocolate is not chocolate until you've had some Belgian chocolate.
I know. Wait, so what was it like growing up in Belgium?
Well, growing up in Belgium and Germany, let's start off with Belgium because at the time I was the only Asian, like literally.
Really?
So the only other Asian that was in my school was from India. And India can't be really considered as like a Southeast Asian or East Asian. So I really had no one to really relate to. So I had like this huge identity crisis, but I thought that I was European, literally. It was just like, oh, why don't I look the same as all of my other friends? But my mentality and everything, my thoughts and everything was really European. And that's where I was really growing up. I went first to school there, although it was an international school. So after spending about 8 years there, I went over to Germany, which had a little bit more of like Japanese influence and a little bit of Koreans and Chinese as well. But still, it was mostly an international community,
Right.
and mainly either United States or Germans. So it was quite an experience, actually.
Do you think those experiences helped you with your interpreting job?
Yes, exactly,
Yeah.
definitely. Interpretation really requires a lot of understanding of the culture and reading between the lines.
Right.
And a lot of the clients that I have myself are global. So they're not just mainly from the United States. It's all over the place. So having that European background and understanding a little bit of where they're coming from and why they're saying those things really helps out a lot.
Oh, wow. And I know you're not just an interpreter. You also are a freelance reporter for eBroadcast.
That's right.
Channel. No wonder you have such a good voice.
Oh, thank
Did
you.
you get training as well?
Well, that's a long story too, but I did not speak Korean. Well, hardly any Korean when I first came to Korea. That was in high school.
Yeah.
And my mother is one of those tiger moms. Like she could not bear the fact that her daughter had like a really bad Korean accent. So actually, I went to one of those training academies for announcers and anchors when I was in high school.
In high school,
yes,
with school at the same
with
time?
school at the same time. So during summer vacation, I would actually go to those agencies to really brush up on my overall speech, enunciation, pronunciation, both for English and Korean.
So what is your mother tongue?
I say after I went to grad school, I say I have no mother tongue.
What? No, I mean, when you were an infant, like when you were a baby,
That's
your
right.
parents must have spoken Korean to you,
That's
right?
right, yes. And the principal at the school in Belgium, actually, she advised my parents to keep on speaking Korean when I was at home. But that's not really enough to get you past, school and everything. Because
Right.
I actually started elementary school in Belgium in English.
In English.
So I mean, like my accent was really off. My Korean was really weak as well. But then again, I wasn't born into English, and my family doesn't speak English on a day-to-day basis. So sometimes I really do wonder what my mother tongue is.
I think like listening wise,
Yes.
Korean was first for you.
It was first.
But then like
speaking and then studying and getting to a certain level, English was
English,
first.
for
so
sure.
I think the first couple of words that kind of I blurt out in a shocking situation or in a surprising situation is English.
English. Oh.
But then again, because I have spent a lot of time in Korea afterwards, now I kind of think when I'm just doing nothing, and sometimes I think in Korean.
Oh.
But then again, I dream in English too.
Wow.
So it's like
all mixed.
Yes, definitely.
I mean, but it's a blessing to be able to
of
be
course,
fluent in both the languages. And you, not only are you a freelance reporter, you also host a car review channel.
That's right.
Is that a YouTube?
Yes.
Oh,
That's right. So it's not my channel per se because I work with a company that already has a Korean car review channel on YouTube, but they had a lot of like international audiences because you know how in Korea we do the first launches for Korean-made cars in Korea, but Korean-made cars are really exported a lot into other markets, and a lot of those audiences and car fanatics really want to get to know the first view of the car when it's first launched. So that's what I do for that channel. I actually review the entire car in English.
Whoa.
Because I love cars.
You do.
I do, yeah.
And you know about cars.
I do. And I wanted to become a professional racer at one point.
Whoa, that's so cool.
And, you know, I just love the sound of roaring engines and I really like the fast speed.
Whoa.
So that's why I know a little bit about the engine and the physics behind it. And I've seen a lot of different cars. So I can actually, I have a preference of what kind of car I like. That's why I think they hired me and took me on board.
Whoa. Oh, how long have you been doing that for? Like,
I think since 2018, if I'm correct.
ooh.
So yeah.
That's a long time.
So it's been a couple of years.
Whoa. Benny says, whoa, that is amazing. Raquel says, that's awesome.
Thank you
Gig
so
Diggy
much.
says, what's the car review channel name? I'd like to check it out. I own Korean cars.
Oh, you do? Wow, that's good then.
We'll let you know the channel name after a song
Yes.
break, so stay tuned. This is Taeyeon on the track with Pretty Spark.
불어 후후 빨간 불태야 내 마음도 너 같아 타오를 듯 위험한 살포신을 눌러 덮으려 해봐도 꺼지지 않는 너를 어떻게 해야 하나 열일 줄만 알았던 그 작은 온기 속 뭐를 감추고 있었니 내 안에 내가 많아 온 밤이 소란한데 혹시 내 말을 들었니 이제 타이밍이야 눈 뜰 새벽이야 불티를 깨워 더 타올라라 후후후 꺼지지 않게 불띠 붉은 채 더 크게 번져 지금 가장 뜨거운 내 안에 작고 작은 불티야 불티야 꺼지지 말고 피어나 불티야 불티야 새벽을 훨훨 날아가 새 불티야 불티야 춤추듯 온 몸을 살라 새 불티야 불티야 꺼지지 말고 피어나 이 까만 어둠을 동그란 네 밝혀 내 앞을 비추는 너 어디든 갈 수 있어 세찬 바람을 타고 또 올라내려보면 우린 이별의 여행자 어제 길 위에 넌 꿈만 꾸고 있었지 작은 새처럼 이제 타이밍이야 너의 시간이야 숨을 불어넣어 불티를 깨워 타올라
There's a reason why we listen to Taeyeon's Pretty Spark, and it's because Joo-yeon has interpreted for Taeyeon's fan meeting.
That's right.
Right? When was this?
I think it was in 2019.
2019. Was it in Korea?
Yes, it was.
Oh, and it was broadcasted globally.
I don't think it was broadcast, but it was actually inviting a lot of fans from the Southeast Asian region. So that's why they needed interpreting.
So you were there with the mic also and interpreting?
No, I was in the booth. So people who wanted to hear what everyone was saying, they had those ear receivers
Whoa,
on.
that's so cool. I've
So-
never experienced that.
Really?
Yeah.
So we had more languages actually. So we had like Japanese, Chinese, and Korean and English.
English.
Yeah.
Oh, so they could choose which language they
Yes,
wanted.
definitely. Yeah.
Oh.
So I think it was right before COVID.
Uh-huh.
So that's why people still were traveling and they were going back and forth. And it wasn't like live broadcast like we do these days.
Uh-huh.
But I think that was probably one of the last moments when people actually came over for
Right.
fan meets.
Were you nervous?
Well, not nervous. I'm not a person that actually gets really nervous.
Really?
So it wasn't really nerve-wracking, but however, I was kind of worried about the different terminologies that would
Right.
be going around because it's different from the international conference scene.
Yeah.
Right? So if she talks about her poodle or, if she has like abbreviations for certain words, then you would have to know and understand all of that.
Yeah. So did you prepare in advance? I mean, how do you even prepare for that? Do you start
yes,
like,
I
looking
started,
into her?
Exactly. Yes, I started by studying her and like going over her channels, her everyday language, what she does when she's just resting, and because there were a lot of questions that fans asked her. And she
Like
had
more
like
personal questions?
Yeah, exactly. And so that would be something that I had to know.
Oh my God. So a lot of research goes
Yes.
into it.
Yeah.
Oh man. Wait, we promised our listeners we would tell them the name of the channel. So
Oh,
can you
yes.
tell them the name.
So if it's okay to disclose, it's Motograph World. So Motograph, that's one
Motograph
word,
World.
and it's the World channel.
Yeah. And Rick Gal said, has she ever driven in a track? She has actually. She
Yes.
enjoys
I do.
fast cars.
I love going to the track and the circuit to actually experience extreme driving. I actually started when I was really young. So
What?
Yes.
How? I mean-
so go-kart racing is what you actually start off with.
Yeah.
You know how like Formula One drivers,
Yeah.
they start when they're like 3 or 4 years old.
Wait, they do?
Yes.
What?
Exactly.
I mean,
So-
do they do it because they want to, or their parents are like, hey, drive this fast?
Well, I think it's both because they're so
wow.
into cars and they really like driving. They have good motor skills and they're good at sports. So they start very early on. The reason why they do that is, you know how you immediately, you were talking during the break that you don't have a license
my
yet.
license, yes.
But when you see a corner coming up, or if you see something in front of you, you immediately
Press
the brakes or step on the brakes.
Yeah.
But when you're that little, you press the brakes or you push a step on the brakes almost all the way close to that corner or close to whatever the obstacle is in front of you. And that's the way to actually get a really fast lap time.
Oh. I'm like, what?
So for me, I started when I was like, I think 11 or something, and it was already too late. So my motor skills and my body already was used to being afraid of something, being afraid of a crash. So I would be stepping on the brakes way too early, and my lap time wasn't good enough.
Well, do you know how to drift?
Well, I learned.
You were going to say, of course.
I learned how to. I'm not the best drifter. There are people who are just like super good at drifting. But mainly because I love my car and I don't want to waste my tires. So yeah.
Oh wow! So if you go to the arcade and play those racing games, you must come in like first place.
No, but I mean it's a different thing with
it
like
is?
gaming. Unless you're in the driver's seat and you're actually doing that to drive. I mean, I might be a little bit better than most people, but it's people who are on the game every day probably would have a better record than me.
This is so cool. Yeah, Rick, I was like, oh, Ashley found her driving teacher. Yeah, I mean, we have so many car questions, but we gotta
we gotta move on.
Yes, we
Maybe
can't
for
just talk
another
about
time.
this. They were like, maybe we need to invite her again for like a car segment. Yeah. But anyways, you said you don't get nervous at all, no matter what the setting is, like professional, corporate events, international events. You've never been nervous?
Not really, because I was in theater when in my past life.
Girl, you did everything.
So I think that during theater, like my how to project the voice and how to not be nervous on stage was one of the bigger things that I really learned during theater. And I guess that, everyone has a little bit of butterflies in their stomach at any given point, but I know how to enjoy that little nervousness.
Yeah, like 무대를 즐기는
Yeah,
type.
exactly.
You enjoy.
Yeah.
Wow. Do you have other talents? Like, do you also sing? Do you also like dance? Do you play an instrument?
I'm a terrible singer, so don't make me
Really?
sing. I mean, seriously, like
have such a
I
good
was not
voice, though.
given the talent of singing. I admire and I love people that can really sing, and I think that Koreans are one of I think it's the best nation with singers. Like I think that Koreans have the best singing voices. And
Do you think it's all the Han?
I mean, that's what the people say.
Yeah, wait, but how would you translate Han? Like, 'cause it's a cultural thing.
Exactly.
And whenever someone mentions Han or Chong, I'm
It's
like,
so difficult.
how do I convert this into English to
Yeah.
make the listeners understand? Have you ever
Exactly.
had to translate something like Han or Chong?
I have, and every time I would actually say Han or a deep felt sorrow inside oneself is a word that we use in Korea very often, and I would elaborate and explain a little bit more. Tong is the same thing. Tong is that deep connection between two people or more people that they have, and it's a kinship. And I would actually have to explain a little bit longer than just one word because we don't
Right.
have an equivalent.
Yeah.
There's one word in English that I always have to explain as well,
Which one?
and that's commitment.
Commitment. Oh, in Korean.
Into Korean, commitment or to commit to someone. If it's not talking about I have to commit to this job. Then it's a bit easier because you can use other words. But you know how in a relationship between
Yeah.
people,
We're in a committed
he's-
relationship.
Exactly. He's very committed to her. Does not translate into Korean the same way.
Yeah. So what do you say?
I elaborate once again. I say 끈끈한 관계 or 헌신 or 약속.
Oh.
So depending on the situation, I would actually like change it up.
Oh, okay. I gotta
Yeah.
remember that. Commitment, 헌신, 끈끈한 관계, 약속. Yes.
Good memory.
Which one is harder for you? Translating from English to Korean or Korean to English?
Wow, that's usually I would say that Korean in itself is very dense.
Oh.
Especially if you get to like a high level of, like political speech or opening speeches. It's very difficult because they're only like one very long word, but we have
Right.
to explain in sentences, multiple different sentences when you're interpreting into English. So in that sense, sometimes because you have to catch up a lot, it's very difficult. But then again, when you have really, really good English speakers, sometimes it's really difficult to convey that into Korean in the same level.
I know. And
If
at the
they're-
same time.
Exactly. If they're very emotional emotional or very persuading. You want to actually relay the same kind of emotion into Korean, but sometimes it just doesn't work.
Because you said when they're like a really good speaker, it's harder to interpret. Do you have anyone that comes to mind when you think of like, okay, this person gave a really good speech?
Well, I mean, I'm not sure if this person is so famous enough, but there are a lot of like creative directors who like to explain themselves and their next project in beautiful, beautiful language. But then because it's scripted and they know what they're talking about, and if you don't have the script, because they're actually doing it off memory, but you don't know what they're going to be saying. But if it's at a certain level, it's very difficult.
They don't give you the script in advance?
Some do. But some don't. Some are like, oh, well, it's all in my head and I haven't written it down anywhere.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Then you have to really play it by ear.
Play it by ear?
Yes.
What? When everyone's listening and...
Yeah. I mean,
so
but
much-
then these days you have a lot of resources online and you can actually like research them and see any similar talks that they have given. And that's how you play it by ear.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm learning a lot. We're going to take a little song break. This is 악무 on the track with 외국인의 고백, The Love of Foreigner.
Yeah, this is song for you. 당신은 굿이에요. 당신은 great해요. 당신은 amazing, marvelous, excellent, awesome. attractive한 그댈 보면 난 curious해.
당신 fantastic해요. 당신 elegant해요. 당신의 astonishing, gorgeous, fascinating love song. sensational한 그댈 보면 난 curious해. 너무 fancy한 그댈 보면 내 마음이 Peter Panning, Peter Panning. 네 얼굴만 보면 두 다리가 tremble, tremble, tremble.
하고 싶었던 말은 I love you. I love you.
다른 어려운 말보다도 더 내 맘인 말이에요.
말이 잘 안 나와요. 아니 말을 몰라요. 넘치는 사랑을 표현할 수가 없어요. 그래서 이렇게 나는 노래해요. 우와.
너무 fancy한 그댈 보면 내 마음이 Peter Panning, Peter Panning. 네 얼굴만 보면 두 다리가 tremble, tremble, tremble. 하고 싶었던 말은 I love you. I love you. 다른 어려운 말보다도 더 내 맘인 말이에요.
하고 싶었던 말은 I love you. I love you.
다른 어려운 말보다도 더 내 맘인 말이에요. 당신은 굿이에요. 당신은 great해요. 당신은 amazing, marvelous, excellent, awesome. attractive한 그댈 보면 난 curious해. 난 curious해. 우와. 난 curious해.
You guys are listening to Radio Clock. We are in the studio with the interpreter, not just an interpreter. What was it called again?
Conference
Conference
interpreter.
interpreter. Okay, so we talked about, doing the translations, interpreting real time.
Yes.
But have you ever had a time when you just kind of blanked out when you were
Yes.
listening?
That's
And then
right.
it's now your turn to translate, but you
Yeah.
don't know what to say?
That's why we actually go into the simultaneous interpretation booth in twos, in a pair.
Oh my gosh.
So we actually switch off with each other every 15, 20, 30 minutes at a given time because it's so draining on your brain and
It
it's
is.
such a big burden that sometimes you just really like kind of everything goes white and you don't really know. And so your partner will actually have to help you out or switch with you.
Oh my
That's-
gosh.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I'm so glad to hear that you have a partner. I know
Yes,
you're doing all
definitely.
of this on your own. And usually when you translate, what's like the longest you've interpreted for?
For simultaneous interpretation, I mean, it can go on for like an entire day or even multiple days. For consecutive interpreting, which is like with just one person and then you speak after a certain, paragraph or a few sentences.
Kind of like what Bong Joon-ho did?
Yes,
Oh, okay.
exactly. So those interpreters, also for like Lee Jung-jae on a very famous live show, he actually took his interpreter with
right.
him. That's called consecutive interpretation. But a lot of my clients actually just rely on me way too much. And there was a reporter who actually recorded this and was like, is she going to make it? Because it was like 5 minutes. And then I had to interpret like all of it. But we do have these notepads
Notes,
that we
okay.
use. And I think it was like 10 pages had gone by. So,
But you
yeah.
did it.
But I mean, I think that because it was about cars too.
Oh,
I think
okay.
that I knew where the speaker was coming from. I knew the entire flow, and it was like a Q&A session, a press briefing, and I didn't want to cut him off because he was in the flow. He was like really going, and he was really into the mood and speaking about it. So I just let him go, and he finished after over 5 minutes, I think.
Wow, we need to see how you take notes
Yes.
because I need some tip. Because sometimes when my guests
You do,
talk about,
exactly.
I'm like,
Yeah.
But then I look back at it sometimes like, wait, what did I write here? Like, what was I trying to say? So
That's right.
she brought her notepad today, and she's just gonna show us kind of like the best way to take notes
Yeah.
while you're interpreting, I guess.
Yes.
So yeah, take it away.
Well, I mean, like I should have probably brought one of my notepads to show you, but no one will actually be able to understand what's on there because it's always your personal symbols.
Right.
Every interpreter has the same kind of symbols. And just to show you, we usually like fold the paper or the notepad in half because we actually like to use it in different segments.
Oh.
So, for example, economies around the world are plummeting. And the presidents of the countries are
Wait, what?
speaking that they will want to boost the economy and add to the livelihoods. And this is basically what I would be doing for those couple of sentences. So this for me is economy. So it's a big capital letter E with a squiggle in the middle. So I can actually know that it's not just the letter E, but economy. And then around the world or globe is kind of like this figure. For me, it's like my planet. And then if you say around the world, I actually have these arrows going around showing that it's around the world.
Wow.
Or if you say global, then I would say this and I would attach a little G to it.
Wow. Tigger says, those look like crop circles. Seriously, if anyone stole your notepad or whatever, they would have no
Really?
idea what you wrote about.
I mean, like sometimes, like if I say livelihoods, I would actually shorten it and say lively and add it. But apart from those couple of letters or words, I would just have symbols all around.
Wow.
Yeah.
What about for like car related topics? Do you have some symbols that you made up?
Yes, I I have my own little car so that I can draw it really fast. I mean, I'm not the fastest writer or speaker, so this is my little car.
That's cute. Okay.
And then I would have different designs, and then I would have like a little flashy thing if it's a design. And then if it's like either fast, then I would add little lines to it to show that this is going fast. If it's new, I would say that it's a new car. Flashy signs on top. Yeah.
After your gig, you must just go home and faint. You just must sleep like a baby after all the concentration and brain energy you use.
Definitely. I mean, like, we interpreters always say that we have a brain freeze after our gigs, but it really helps with, just a little bit of alcohol or
Well, that's a relief.
a bit of chimek and stuff, because it's a big burden on our brains, and it's quite a hefty load.
Yeah. Well, it's already time to say goodbye, unfortunately.
Already?
Do you have
Yes.
any words of advice you'd like to give to people who want to become an interpreter one day?
Well, I personally think that interpreters are not just relaying words into A language or B language. I think that they have to be communicators, and that they have to provide solutions to other people who can't speak that language. So if you do want to become an interpreter or a conference interpreter, try to put yourself in the other person's shoes and really try to understand what they're trying to get across. I think that makes a good interpreter. But other than that, thank you so much for having me, and it was a blast. I had the best 1 hour.
Me too. Please come back.
Oh, I
next
would love to.
time. We're going to say goodbye with the last song, Kuwan-chan on the track with Pyoyeon Expression, and we'll see you next time. Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.